right. We will start. How were your Thanksgivings, by the way? Good? Good? Anything special? No? Family? Get to spend with family? Good. I've met your sister. Was she there? That's nice. She's nice. Marion, you had a good one? And good deal. Well, wonderful. Well, I'll talk a little bit about Thanksgiving in a bit. I'm thankful you all are here. So, we will begin. Let's begin with, and hello to everybody watching. Hope that you're having a happy Thanksgiving wherever you may be. Start off on page 128 with Hine Matov. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine Matov shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine Matov shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. We'll turn to 142. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharei, Malachei Elyon. Mimele, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ohem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimele, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barhoni LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei HaMelachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. 138. Lehadodi likakala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lehadodi likakala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmianu u'el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shemot tiferet v'litila. Lehadodi likakala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lehadodi likakala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor ha'beracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshvatila. Lehadodi likakala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lehadodi likakala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, kiva ore kumi ori, shuda peri, kivod Adonai, alaich nigla, lehadodi lekrakala, yalla, b'nei Shabbat, nekabela, lehadodi lekrakala, yalla, b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. We rise and face the entrance. Boi v'shalom atere bala, gam besimcha v'tzahala, tachemune am segula, boi hala, lehadodi likrakala, yalla, b'nei Shabbat, nekabela, lehadodi likrakala, yalla, b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. You may be seated. Pete, nice to see you, buddy. How was your Thanksgiving? Did you have a good Thanksgiving? Did you have a good Thanksgiving? Good. Glad to hear that. Well, we are going to, now that we've reached Shabbat, let's take a moment to welcome in Shabbat also in the light that it is in our lives with the lighting of the candles. Join in with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Page 144. Yifkada v'yikada shemei rabba Amadi v'achirte v'imlich malchutei v'hayechon v'yomechon u'chayedecho beit Yisrael bagala u'bizman karivim meru amen yehi shmei rabba mevarach ve'alamo me'omaya Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitrumam v'yinaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'rehu le'elam min kol brechata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata tamihira be'alma imeru amen. Rise for the Baruch Hu, page 146. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed hamevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. You may be seated. Page 148. Let's read the translation of the Ma'ariv Harvin. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Page 150. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha, Amcha, Amcha avta, Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadata, Aken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokmenu, uvkumenu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem hayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, nege yomam v'layla, ve'avcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, ve'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol meodecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzavecha, hayam ha'levavecha, ve'shinatam levanecha, ve'dibarta bam, ve'shivtecha v'veitecha, u'letecha v'aderech, uv'shofecha u'kumecha, u'kshartam leot al yadecha, ve'hayu letotavo beinenecha, u'kavtam al mezuzah beitecha, u'visharecha, leman tizkeru, v'asitem ekol mitzvodai, v'item kedoshim lelohehem, ani Adonai Elohehem, asher hotzeiti ethem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lahem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohehem, Adonai Elohehem, emet. When we sang the Mi Chamocha, what we were doing was expressing literally thanksgiving. We were saying how grateful we were to be free in that moment and to overcome what once seemed like an obstacle that we couldn't surmount. And so on this Thanksgiving weekend, I'd like to invite everybody to think about maybe where are you in your life right now? Where do you hope to go someday or hope to be? But also to think back to maybe an obstacle that seemed insurmountable to you once upon a time, and how you're here now, how you were able to get over that, and find maybe a moment for gratitude for that. I mean, after all, I don't think any of us will ever have everything we want in life, because then we wouldn't have ambition. But being able to recognize what we have overcome and how our lives are maybe in some ways better than they once were, that alone is worthy of praise. We're on page 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele. Malchutecha ra'u banecha, v'hokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Se'elianu ve'amru, Se'elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Page 161. Let us read maybe together at the top of the page. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, HaPores Sukkot Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Amo Yisrael Ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 162 at the top. Vishamru V'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat Ledorotam berit olam v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam berit olam Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam berit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam berit olam uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam berit olam. 164. We rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagite hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Hasei Avot v'Imaot, U'mevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Vezrat Sarah. 168. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav Le'Oshia. Mashiva Ruach U'Morid Hagashem, Mechalkel Hayim Behesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofeh Chulim, Umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishene afar, michamocha bal gevurot, umidom elav, melech memi, umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'nem anatale hachayot hakol, Baruch ata Adonai, mechaye hakol. Ata kadosh v'shim hakadosh, v'shim b'hu yom yehalilu chasela. Baruch ata Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. We're on page 172, and we continue silently through 180, or use this as an opportunity for our own silent prayers, and when you're finished, you may be seated. Yehiyu ratzon imrefi, v'hegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu ratzon imrefi, v'hegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, v'goali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, legoali. Yehiyu ratzon imrefi, v'hegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu ratzon imrefi, v'hegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, v'goali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, my God, my rock, and my Redeemer. We turn to page 371, and this Thanksgiving, I think, in particular, when we have someone in our hearts who is important to us, and we, and they maybe are not fully how they should be in mind, body, and spirit, and maybe their life is right now at a very difficult moment. We often feel a bit more gratitude just knowing that we have them here this Thanksgiving and hoping, praying that they will be in a better place next Thanksgiving, in a place of healing. And so this week, we think of these members of our community and their loved ones who could use a prayer for healing. Sheldon Blattner and Janet Morley, Abraham Shlomo Ben Yochanan V'Simcha, Gitalea Bat Masha Hana, Barbara Arnovitz, Ariana Berenson, Kevin Bernstein, Denise Dobling, David Dowsett, Genevieve Ellsworth, Shulamit Marguerite Shlomeris Epstein, Yitzhak Figelski, Will Goldman, Susan Horn, Sharon Katz, Jeffrey W. Levy, Mary Jane Levy-Dixon, Megan Magleby, Shari Pedersen, Ina Sable, Andrea Santoyo, Penny Spector, Linda Stern, Robert Warners, and Judy Wolf. And if you have a name to add, when I look in your direction, you're welcome to share with all of us. Atticus? And if you have a name at home, I invite you to share that name too. Our prayer for healing is on 371 in the middle of the page. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habraha limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom. I was thinking about, so when you're a student, by the way, at the Hebrew Union College, which is where I went to rabbinical school, you spend your first year of that 5-year program in Jerusalem. And I was, by the way, not the most popular of my peers in that class, and this will really shock you, a lot of people. The reason why was because most of my classmates, a lot of my classmates, didn't care for my worldviews because they thought I was far too right-wing. I was considered to be one of the most right-wing students in the class politically, which tells you something because a lot of people are frustrated with how left-wing they see that I am, that they think I am. But compared to my peers, I was a lot further to the right politically than a lot of them. But I was thinking about an area where I had some disagreement with a lot of my classmates. And that was in a pivotal moment in my lifetime and world news that happened while I was living in Israel. And I remember it pretty well because I remember my parents never figured out the time zone change, by the way, with Israel. I would routinely get calls from them at 3 o'clock in the morning when they thought for some reason it was noon or something like that. And I'd say, Mom, or Dad, it was usually my dad. I'd say, Dad, it's 3 a.m. on Tuesday. He's like, no, I don't think you're right. I'm pretty sure it's 12 o'clock on Friday. I'm like, that's completely wrong, Dad. Now, you don't know how time works. But I remember getting a call very early, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning from my mom. And I said, Mom, why are you calling me so early? It's like 5 a.m. here. And she told me, go turn on a TV because President Obama is about to announce that the U.S. military killed Osama bin Laden. And I like jumped out of bed because, I'm 33 now, and so 20 years ago I was 13, and the attacks on September 11th were events that really changed my life and shaped the world we live in today. And growing up as an adolescent and really as a kid, Osama bin Laden had been kind of this boogeyman figure. And I remember newspapers across Israel, that was the headline the next day, and everything was about Osama bin Laden's death. And where I had a disagreement with a lot of my classmates is that a lot of my classmates kind of got on their high horses, I felt, in my opinion, and started talking about how horrible it was that Osama bin Laden had been killed, that he had a right to a fair trial like everybody else, and he had been extrajudiciously killed. And they started, also quoting this one biblical verse that says, "You should not celebrate your enemy's downfall," and so on and so forth. And I disagreed with them because I was ecstatic that Osama bin Laden was dead. I was thrilled. I came into school with the biggest smile on my face that day. And it was because I saw Osama bin Laden as what we in Hebrew call a rodef. And the Talmud teaches us, rodef literally means a pursuer. So like a lot of people use it in good context, like there are a lot of synagogues out there called rodef shalom, which means pursuers of peace. But in the Talmud, a rodef is somebody who is always pursuing you with the purpose of killing you. And what you are supposed to do, what you are commanded to do in Jewish law, is to kill the rodef before it kills you. Before the rodef kills you. And so for me, I completely disagreed with my classmates, and I was absolutely thrilled that Osama bin Laden was dead. Because I felt that capturing him would put further things in danger and create terrorist attacks in the U.S., trying to free him, so on and so forth. And frankly, the bottom line of it was I saw nothing good that this man contributed to the world. And I felt that the world was a better place without him. And it takes a rare type of person for me to feel that way. To say the world is a better place without you. I don't know anyone in my own personal life, really, who I would say that about. There are people I don't care for. But I wouldn't say the world's a better place without them. But Osama bin Laden was one of those people. And it's sad when we feel that way. Because when we feel that way about somebody, what we're saying is that we see no holiness in them, and we don't see any godliness in them. And that brings me, of course, to this week's Torah portion. Because what we had in this week's Torah portion was something that almost happened, but didn't. And it's the story of Jacob's sons. And Jacob, he kind of turned into his own father as an older man, and in a lot of ways became a mature, diplomatic, thoughtful person. But he didn't think about how one of the things that his dad did that he didn't like was that his dad showed favoritism to his son Esau over Jacob. And this really put a strain on them in their relationship. And I've talked about that over the last couple of weeks. We read about that over a period of a few weeks. How much animosity was created by Isaac picking a favorite son. And Isaac's father, Abraham, had done the same thing. And that created animosity. And Jacob doesn't learn his lesson here. The lesson of his father and grandfather. And he's not better than them. Because he, as well, he has 12 sons, and he picks a favorite as well. And that's Joseph. And with Joseph, he gives Joseph this beautiful coat that none of the other brothers get. And he constantly is going around talking about how great Joseph is. And Joseph himself is having dreams and interpreting them to his brothers about how he is going to be greater than all of them. Was not particularly humble himself. And this makes his brothers so angry that they decide we should kill Joseph. We don't see any good in him, and our lives would be better without him. But thankfully, one brother doesn't see things that way, and that's Judah. And Judah talks them out of this plan. Judah says, we cannot kill him. He's our brother. He is our father's son. Let's fake his death, sell him off into slavery, something. I don't know. Don't kill him. And ultimately, what Judah does is Judah sees that the world is a better place with Joseph in it. Or perhaps that the world is a darker place without him in it. And, spoiler alert, in a couple of weeks, what we're going to read about is how Joseph ends up saving all of his brothers and saving the people of Israel. And so today, we would not be here if it weren't for this act of compassion by Judah. So Judah is this pretty important person. And he is, by the way, where we get today our name from. We're called, after all, Jews, and we are the practitioners of Judaism. And that the reason for that is because most of us come from the tribe of Judah. And so this was the name that was given to us about 2,500 years ago, 2,400 years ago, was the people of the Judites and the practitioners of Judaism. So we often talk about how Abraham and Sarah were the first Jews. That's actually anachronistic. We weren't called Jews yet. So a couple weeks ago, I talked about how we were also the people of Israel, which means the ones who struggle with God, the ones who wrestle with God. So what does Judah mean? And what does it mean to be Jewish? Well, with each of Jacob's sons, they have a name that's special to them. Like, for instance, Benjamin means son of my affliction because his mother died in childbirth. Reuven means, behold, I have a son, because he was the first son of, I believe, of Jacob. In Judah, Yehudah in Hebrew, literally means thanksgiving, gratitude. So it's kind of interesting that this is the weekend where we read about Judah. It's Thanksgiving weekend. And so for us to go around and say that we practice Judaism, what we are literally saying is that we are the practitioners of gratitude, that our religion is gratitude. And it's kind of ironic that we have this name as well, because when we look at the history of the Jewish people, you know, strugglers with God sounds a lot more appropriate than the ones who are grateful. I mean, it has not been the easiest history for us. And yet we still have this name and say that this is what we practice. And that's because what Judaism really commands us to do is to see holiness around us and to see blessing in everything around us and in the mundane as well. And so, like I said, it makes me sad, horribly sad, when there's somebody so evil that I cannot find blessing in them or anything good for their to justify their existence into the world. But perhaps ultimately this is why Judah was the one who saved Joseph. Because Judah is the reminder through his name and through his deeds that we need to find gratitude for everything. And that ultimately he didn't want Joseph to die because he was grateful that Joseph was alive and that the world was better with him in it. And so may we all kind of be the descendants of Judah and be the Judahs of today and the practitioners of Judaism by looking for the blessings in each other and in our own lives as well. Shabbat Shalom. Some announcements I will make. We have Hanukkah coming up. A lot going on this week between Thanksgiving and now Hanukkah. Another reason to be thankful. And so you can still give to our Hanukkah for All fundraiser to make sure that all families here and seniors receive a gift and some gelt, regardless of their financial circumstances. And also another way to help those in need in our community is our Coats for Kids clothing drive. So any coats or clothing or whatever, gently used clothing, you can, in toiletries, you can put in the bins here, and Jewish Family Service will distribute them to those who are in need. And we have Hanukkah programming coming up too. A Kolami Youth Hanukkah party on December 1st, a film festival. We're doing a Hanukkah film festival November 30th and December 2nd. 2 nights. Some Hanukkah film, there's one about the Holocaust, I know, and then there's one about that I think particularly speaks to us here in Utah, Latter-day Jew, about a guy who converted from Mormonism to Judaism. And then next Friday is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a special Hanukkah Shabbat, including consecration for our newest students in kindergarten through 2nd grade. And then, there's some other stuff going on. You can read about it in your emails, but also there will be like a young professional event and a Hanukkah recipe book, Hanukkah recipes for our Kolmi cookbook that you can submit. And on December 5th, in conjunction with the Jewish Federation, we'll be having Shine a Light on Anti-Semitism happening here at the synagogue with guest speakers speaking out against hatred. We have some upcoming classes coming up at the synagogue, starting on Monday, December 6th, so a week from this Monday. We're going to be starting a new beginner Hebrew class here for adults at the synagogue. And also our cantor is currently teaching a trope course on Sundays for students and adults who'd like to get better at chanting Torah and learning how to chant Torah so that you can do something that's pretty special during our services. Finally, the last things I will add here is that we need some volunteers to help set up for our kiddush luncheons on Saturday morning, just because our Board of Trustees, with approval of our COVID task force made up of doctors, voted to allow limited eating of food in the building for those who are vaccinated. So please feel free to contact the office if you'd like to volunteer or host a kiddush or special event or something. And so following our service, you can return your lanyards. If you were a guest, keep your lanyards and bring them back next week if they have your name on them when you come here. And please help support our High Holiday Appeal so that we can really continue our holy work of doing these great classes and programs to enrich the lives of those in our community with Jewish learning, Jewish heritage, and Jewish values. We're very grateful for anything you can contribute, and we're grateful to all our volunteers and donors. So Shabbat Shalom. We are going to resume our service, page 586, with the Olenu at the bottom of the page. Please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol la'tekilu al yotzer breshit shelo asanu ke'oei haratzot v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo samchokenu kahem v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu notei shamayim v'yoser haaretz u'moshav yikara b'shamayim ima'al u'shchinatu zo v'govhei meromim u'Eloheinu einot emet malkeinu efezulato Kakatuv v'torato v'datayam v'hashivota elavavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim imal ve'al ha'aretz mitachai einod 591 V'nemar v'haya Adonai v'melech al kol ha'aretz v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. This time we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, and those who've died at this season in years past, and those for whose lives and memories we are very thankful for this week and every week. If you hear the name of a loved one, I invite you to rise upon hearing that name. In the period of Shloshim, 30-day period of mourning, we remember a former member of our community, Alana Rubel. And this week, we commemorate the following Yortzites anniversary of the passing of these loved ones. Elsie Anisman, Lynn Coney Arendt, Chester K. Barno, Itamar Durone, Simon Frank, Chaim Kleinberg, Patricia Koshian, Justin Lingstall, Yetta Mann, Edwin C. Nelson, Morris Pasternak, Sonia Gorelick Presser, Eleanor Levin Robbins, Benjamin Milton Rowe, Isaac Rose, William Rubin, Isaac Sapitsky, Dima Suryev, Morris Shapiro, William J. Schroeder Jr., Audrey Silberman, Boris Sorokin, Samuel Spitz, Israel Spitz, and Harry Weiser. And if you have a name to add, I invite you to rise and share that name with our community. Or if you have a name at home, you're welcome to share as well. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. If you're in mourning or church tradition, do so, you're welcome to rise. We're on page 598. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei rabah, ve'alma divrach hirte v'yimlich malchute, v'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalah v'yisman kari v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei rabah mevarach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbrach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei dekudusha brehu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nehemata, da'ami ram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mromah, u'yasei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, V'imru. Amen. A source of peace and peace to all who are mourning. Comfort breathe among us. Can we say amen? Conclude with those words we just said of asking for peace in our world. Ose shalom bimromav uyahase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav uyahase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav uyahase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. We rise for Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher gishon sotav beratzav banu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon hinhilanu, zikaron l'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'harta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uvratzon hinhaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. And we will. Challah? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Motzi lehem min haaretz. Amen. To everyone, Shabbat Shalom. Happy Thanksgiving and early Happy Hanukkah to you all. Thanks for joining us.